Jewish Education in Media is pleased to present L'Chaim, a program that highlights the people, issues, and events of importance to the Jewish community. Now here is your host, Rabbi Mark Golub.
Yeah, Judah, 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 faithful and true. Yeah, tonight the lights in the window are for you. Niskador Hayasham, Niskador Hayasham, Niskador Hayasham, Niskador Hayasham, Niskador Hayasham, Niskador Hayasham. Ian Cry.
The amazing Rob Mathis in concert with Ian Crone doing Rob's beautiful original Chanukah song, Light in the Window, which I hope you've all seen many times as we celebrate Chanukah here on JBS. I'm Mark Golub. Welcome to a very special edition of the Chaim, where I have the opportunity to introduce you to one of my favorite people in the world, the wildly talented musician, Rob Mathis, who's won an Emmy for his work as musical director of the Kennedy Center Honors, seen on CBS, who's been nominated for a Tony Award, a Drama Desk Award, and a Grammy Award for his orchestrations and musical direction of Sting's Broadway show, The Last Ship, and who's worked with virtually every big-name star performer across the musical spectrum, from Tony Bennett, Elton John, and Aretha Franklin, to Pavarotti, the Three Tenors, Yo-Yo Ma, Renée Fleming, and Renée Fleming sang Rob's own arrangement of the Star-Spangled Banner at the Super Bowl. And I want to tell you just a little bit more about Rob's extraordinary accomplishments. Rob was the musical director of Barack Obama's inauguration concert at the Lincoln Memorial, seen on HBO, with such music icons as Stevie Wonder, James Taylor, Beyonce. Rob's last 3 record productions have been for Sting, and he's also produced records for Rod Stewart, Carly Simon, and Vanessa Williams. Rob arranged Crazy Love for Van Morrison and Ray Charles on Ray Charles' Grammy-winning Genius Loves Company, which won Album of the Year in 2004. Rob Mathis was the musical director of the concert in the Pope's honor at Madison Square Garden, featuring, among others, one of my favorite Broadway stars, Kelli O'Hara. And Rob is a spectacular performer in his own right, having emceed the Songwriters Hall of Fame Awards for the past 15 years, performing on the Grammys with Bruce Springsteen, with whom Rob has collaborated on many occasions. And every December, Rob Mathis produces and stars in his own fabulous stage production at SUNY Purchase, his annual Christmas concert, which features some beautiful Christmas songs that Rob has written himself, and a growing number of wonderful Chanukah songs, which he performs as part of his Christmas concert every year. And you've seen his first Chanukah song, Light in the Window, every year at Chanukah time here on JBS. And what you should especially know is that Rob Mathis is one of the loveliest human beings you could ever know. And he has been a close personal friend for, almost 30 years. And one of my greatest personal thrills was to have Rob Mathis compose and perform a song he wrote especially for me. when I was honored for my work with JBS a number of years ago.
Where the Father leads, the child will follow. As the Father goes, so goes the child.
And now I have the chance to share Rob with you on L'chaim. It is wonderful to be able to have you sitting at this table. I've wanted it for so long. Thank you very, very much.
It is an honor. It is an honor.
Thank you for saying that. The audience should also know, if your last name is Golub, and you live in Connecticut, you've studied with Rob's mother and father, who are musicians in their own right. Joan Mathis has been the piano teacher for every child, cousin. George, Rob's father, was an enormous help to me on a number of occasions. And I don't know if you know this, I once had the opportunity of being the orchestral director of Barnum
Oh, wow.
at the New Canaan Summer Theater. And I said yes before I had a clue of how hard it was. It was the hardest thing I ever did in my life.
Really?
Yes. It was, but your father helped me get through and begin to learn how to do this. You know, I've been a musical director of shows, but that's
Yeah.
different than being an orchestral director.
Right.
So that was amazing. So your family has been so an intimate part of my life, my children's life, and you've been a dear friend, and you know I am there every year at your concert.
You're unbelievable.
And I just think you are fabulous. There's Carol Lilienthal, our producers in the control room. She loves you. Know I bring
she
more
comes
and more,
every year.
I
Carol
bring more
comes
and more of my
every- That's
congregation
great.
now comes.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, and then we'll talk about you in a second. It's interesting. I find it interesting. Look, I'm a rabbi. I'm a Jewish guy. I bring members of my congregation to an annual Christmas concert. And one could say, well, what are you doing? And the reality is, and I've told this to you personally, and I want the audience to hear it, you create a mood. First of all, it's a spectacular performance, and you surround yourself with some of the finest musicians in America.
They're great.
Yes,
They're great musicians, yeah.
you have a horn section.
6-piece horn section, yep.
You've got whoever your drummer is.
Oh, yeah.
Who was the drummer this year?
I've got, when we played at the Schimmel Center right after we did
Yes.
Purchase, and I had two of them. The two drummers I use are Shawn Pelton from Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
And Joe Bonadio has played with Mark Cohn, Sting.
Yes.
And they're both extraordinary.
Just fabulous.
Just extraordinary. And Will Lee from the Letterman Show on bass.
Which is unbelievable.
Yeah, he's incredible.
And then you also have one more on the guitar.
We have Billy Masters,
Billy
who's played
Masters.
with Suzanne Vega,
Just-
and he's just incredible slide guitar player in
Yes.
particular.
And now, and who's on the keyboard right next to you?
One of my best friends from high school, who became the Whiff and Poof pitch pipe at Yale.
Wow.
And has composed a bunch of scores. He was also a 5-time Jeopardy champion, named if you can believe it, named Ricky Knutson. And then we have all my old friends from high school singing in the choir, 40-member choir.
A 40-member choir. You can imagine how spectacular it is. It's usually the Saturday before Christmas, is it?
Yes, it's normally Friday and Saturday
Right.
before Christmas.
At
yeah.
SUNY Purchase.
SUNY Purchase.
All of you who are in Westchester, if you want to spend an evening, it is a lovely moment. You know, everybody understands one of the most beautiful things in the world is Christmas.
Yes.
And a Jew, Christmas is not a Jew. It's not mine.
Right.
But I can appreciate it for you and for the Christian community. And I am thrilled that you do this, and both Christians and Jews come, and now you've added Hanukkah song after Hanukkah song
Well,
after
you've
Hanukkah song.
single-handedly turned it into a holiday concert. I mean, SUNY Purchase finally came to me 3 years ago, And they said, we love the concert so much that we don't want you to have to produce it. We want to produce it now. They put me on their season every year. And they said, Rob, you're writing so many Hanukkah songs. We'd like to call it a holiday concert as opposed to a Christmas concert. And I said, at this point, with Rabbi Mark Golub there every year, that's what I'd like to do too. You know, so because I keep adding songs to it. And it's interesting because yes, it's manger centric at times.
Yes.
But, you know, with what you've taught me, it's also, the story of the Maccabees is unbelievable. So the power of that, especially in this time, has made the concert for me deeper.
I agree with you. It is a humanity concert, and this is your gift, and your music, your lyrics, you do both the music and the lyrics, are inspiring. We soar with you, and you know the audience adores you, and there are certain songs we want to hear every single year that are Rob Mathis songs. We'll talk about that in a few moments. But you should be very proud of what you make a major contribution to the community at large. And I'm thrilled that the more and more I go around Westchester and Fairfield County, everybody knows about the Rob Mathis concert.
Oh.
How many years have you been doing it?
23.
23 as we're taping today.
Yes.
Fabulous. All right, I want to know a little bit about you. And some of this I know, but I want the audience to know as well. You grew up in Greenwich, Connecticut.
Born in Boston.
Boston.
And my grandfather, who we lived with, my mom's dad, who was kind of a really important figure for the family. We lived with him in East Providence, and my mom taught piano, my dad taught school there, but moved to Old Greenwich, Connecticut when I was 5. So, you know, most of my life, 45 years in that town.
And that's where you went to high school, yes?
Yes, Greenwich High School.
Okay. At what point do you realize that you love music and that maybe your parents or somebody realizes it's not just that you're good, but that you are among those who are stunningly good with, and it comes out of you in an extraordinary way? At what point do you begin to understand this is a gift you have?
I don't remember anything else. I mean, I remember studying with the great jazz pianist John Mahegan, who taught at Juilliard, when I was 8.
Really?
And I remember my mom getting me up to the piano when I was 4 and 5. And there are great prodigies out there. I was not a great prodigy technician, but all I cared about from an incredibly early age was music. And I still even remember I was a little snotty kid, and I would get angry with any of my dad's friends, even musical friends, who'd be like, Rob should have something to fall back on. I remember going, no, But, I mean, it's all I ever cared about,
There are many people who love music. They don't go into it as a profession.
Right.
Okay. It sounds like this was something you were driven to do from early in your life.
Yeah.
This is what you wanted. You wanted your life to be music.
Yes.
And at some point, somebody says to you, hey, you're really good at this. Did your mother say it? Did your father?
Yeah, my mother and father were insanely supportive. I mean, remarkably supportive. But also you have, as anyone does, you have music teachers. I mean, the 3 high school music teachers at Greenwich High School, Carmel Signa, Ray Malone, and Ann Medugno, were huge influences on my life. I mean, when I start talking about them to interviewers around the Christmas concerts I do, I start tearing up because they're just, so there's a number of people. I had a great guitar teacher, Carmine Marino, but people around me always supported and could tell that this was my passion, this is what I wanted to do.
How many instruments do you play?
I play guitar and piano both very well because my mom is a piano teacher and I studied with her from being a little boy. And guitar, they bought me a guitar when I was 13 and I became obsessed with it and really was just playing guitar constantly between the age of 13 and like 20. And then at 20, I became obsessed with Mahler and classical music and went right back to the piano to study arranging and orchestration. I heard Leonard Bernstein conduct Mahler's 6th Symphony in the Berklee College of Music library, and it was like being struck by lightning. And I hadn't asked for that tape. I asked for John Coltrane. And it was a reel-to-reel library. You hand them the number. They handed me the tape. I put it on the reel-to-reel, and it was Mahler's Sixth Symphony.
By accident?
By accident. In A minor, conducted by Leonard Bernstein. And it was like a bolt from the blue. I mean, everything changed after that. I was at Berklee College of Music studying jazz, and I loved it. But I heard that music, that harmony, and my mom had brought me up on Beethoven, Chopin, Brahms. But Mahler is, you know, that's late romantic, deep language. And I left Berklee, I went to study with a classical composer, really worked on the piano, and then became an orchestrator, and that changed the trajectory of my life.
I didn't realize, when did you leave Berklee?
I left Berklee in 1984.
In which year?
I left after the summer semester, and I wanted to get through a number of harmony courses there because there's so many great teachers. Ken Pullig and Donnie Nolan were my teachers at Berklee. They taught me great stuff, but I wanted to go study Mahler and Bernstein and all of that. And left and went to study. My uncle, who was a composer, said to me, you know, at this point it's not going to be about your degree. Why don't you study with a composer who teaches it at a great school, and he can beat you up for 2 or 3 years. And if they, in fugue class at Juilliard, if they write 3 fugues a semester, he'll make you write 15. And so I studied with Myron Fink, great composer, and taught at Hunter and SUNY Purchase, and he beat me up for about 5 years. And so that's how I started writing string arrangements for pop stars and stuff, because I was still playing my own music, still writing songs, but I was listening to Mahler 24 hours a day.
That's amazing. You know, I've heard people in the business say that no matter what music you ultimately are creating, either because you love it or because you're making a living at it, a classical foundation is an enormous benefit. And that, you know, I keep thinking of Marvin Hamlish. And I had the chance to interview Marvin Hamlish, and I asked him, how did you do The Way We Were?
Yes.
And he shows me on the piano how the theme came and how he visited a college and there was a bell that kept going on, and he heard the bell, and that's how he started it. And all he did was 3 notes.
When I came home, this was what I did for the first few days. That was it. That turned into, and again, days go by, you know. That turned into thinking about long notes because Barbra Streisand's singing. And then, of course, we were blessed with a fantastic title. I mean, the book was a great title. So what you do is you make sure that in the song you leave enough room for the title. And that's slowly but surely how you plot the song.
He was obviously also started in the classical world.
Oh, yeah.
What do you feel about classical music as a basis for virtually any musician?
Well, let me back into that by saying that in a number of interviews, Paul McCartney has said, I don't want to learn how to write music, or because, you know, I have this, you know, I don't think he would call it magic. He's a lovely guy, but I have this thing about me that has given me a career. I don't want to mess with it. I completely understand that, but if you're a natural musician, learning harmony, learning melody, it doesn't change the fact that your inspirations are magical. And when I never go to the piano and go, okay, I'm going to do the 3 chord to the 6 chord, and I think what I'll do is a Picardy third at the end. You know, I don't, no, you still go with your ear, and it's still an adventure. But the learning, but understanding the innards of music just makes it deeper. I mean, look at the composers, and the thing I love most about classical music and composition is that with all the great masters, as they're learning and internalizing all their wisdom about music, the music gets deeper and deeper. I love Mahler's First Symphony, but Mahler's Ninth is one of the greatest documents, I'm convinced, one of the greatest documents in the history of man. Beethoven's Mass in B minor, the culmination of his entire life, the Beethoven string quartets from the end of his life. So the more you learn and experience, I think it just makes your work deeper. You know, it doesn't take away the excitement of the new, and because we all don't know. Mahler didn't know where he was going to go in that Ninth Symphony. I can guarantee you, he never said, you know, I think I'm going to do something theoretical. He was always going with his ear. So I think a classical background is amazing to have. Amazing. And not only that, Mark, you know, having my mother teaching in that room every day and hearing Chopin's Fantasy Impromptu 9,000 times, that does something for your life. You are living with the internal understanding of structure of melody. Hearing the Fantasy Impromptu, what a gift. You know, when I was in the womb, she was teaching piano, 50 students a week, you know? So anyway.
Okay, but everything you say is wonderful. You also have a gift, and the gift helps. And Mahler had a gift, and Beethoven had a gift, and Bernstein had a gift. And
They had beyond gifts.
Yes,
They were like,
that is correct.
they had God shined a light
Yes,
on
and
those
just out of
people.
curiosity, how do you feel about Leonard Bernstein?
You know, Leonard Bernstein is one of the people I feel like if he hadn't existed, I would be working at a deli somewhere. I went to see him, and I got to meet his daughter, Jamie Bernstein, came to The Last Ship. And I told her, I said, your father, Leonard Bernstein, completely changed my life, and of course, every other American musician's life. He taught us all. But I remember those concerts, Mark, as being what it must have been like to see the Beatles or Ray Charles. You went there, and I remember seeing the New York Philharmonic under a different conductor the week before, in September of '87. And then Bernstein came to do Mahler's Third. And the New York Phil sounded great. But that next week, he came up on stage to conduct Mahler's Third, and it was an apocalyptic event. I mean, the wisdom and the combination he had of being just this person who loved the world and could not contain his emotion and his intensity, but with a mind as sharp as anybody who's ever lived. The combination of those two things, I mean, he was just endlessly inspiring to all of us. And I feel like, again, I heard him do Mahler's Sixth, and I saved up. I was touring with Chuck Mangione, and I saved up for 8 months of Chuck Mangione paychecks to go to Israel to see Bernstein conduct Mahler's Sixth. Wow. And it was, you know, still to this day, the most powerful musical experience of my life.
When you compose yourself, do you hear some of this? Or again, you are unique to yourself. At the same time, there are influences in everybody's creativity. Is there anyone, as you create, that you say to yourself, I hear that there's a mentor here who is helping me shape my own music, even if I am not doing it consciously?
Well, you know, I always thought, you know, people live in two schools of thought on this, Mark. I know people that will go, man, I love that chord. What is that chord? You know, like a great Stravinsky chord. You can hear Stravinsky's Symphony of Wind instruments with that great Rite of Spring chord. You can hear it in a second. It's Stravinsky. And they go take that chord and use it somewhere else. I actually prefer to learn as much music as I can and study it and try to forget it so that I'm never imitating it.
Yes.
But so that it lives within me somehow.
Yes.
Like a lot of the Rite of Spring music comes from this idea of juxtapositions of tonalities, right? You know, you'll have an E flat chord on top of an E chord. You'll have and so that's a concept, that's an idea. So I can imagine going to the piano and wanting to evoke a Stravinsky-like tableau musically, but not actually taking exactly that and utilizing it. I prefer not to do that. But you can certainly do that. There are composers that say, I'm going to use that theme, but my favorite of them use it and tell everybody. I'm taking this theme from the Eroica Symphony, and I'm going to use it to spin something. which John Adams did recently in a piece of his.
Okay. You also enjoy performing, do you not?
I love it, yes.
And, you know, in some fantasy world, if you could have only performed music
Yeah.
on stage, would you have wanted to do that?
You know, I would say yes, because that holiday concert we give every year, a lot of people ask me why, you know, people that don't know the concert think I'm up there doing jingle bells and it's just kind of like a fun holiday. And I say, no. That's the focal point of my year. We all wind up there, and I take it very seriously. As you said, most of the songs are about deep things.
Absolutely.
I don't do Mama's Kissing Santa Claus.
Right.
That's not that kind of show. If you
Right.
want, a girl in a tight red dress singing "All I Want for Christmas," you got to go someplace else.
Right.
So,
by the way, people shouldn't think you do jingle bells, but it's not like no other jingle
no,
bells.
we do it like Billy Strayhorn
Yes.
with Duke Ellington. Yeah.
You do. I had a little dreidel.
Yes.
It's not like anything anybody has ever heard in the world.
That's right. It's called
Right?
Strayhorn's Dreidel, because Billy Strayhorn and Duke Ellington are huge idols of mine, and so yeah, I did a version of the Dreidel song for you, as if Billy Strayhorn arranged it, because Billy Strayhorn did the famous Nutcracker Suite for Ellington. He arranged that. So, but I think that I would have loved to perform. I expected to be like a little James Taylor or something. That's what I wanted to do. But I was so obsessed with different kinds of music that becoming a string arranger for Springsteen or working with Sting closely, becoming what you might say is somebody watering, a gardener for other people's gardens, has been a joy.
Absolutely.
And it's allowed me to not be on the road all the time.
Yes.
And be with my family. So I'd like to think that God has a way of if you stay in prayer and have a spiritual life, you know, what is that old proverb, Mark? We have plans, but
Man plans and God laughs.
exactly. But he's, so I think the way it's wound up, it's okay. I've been able to make my own records and yet work with the likes of Sting, which has been just a gift.
Just fabulous.
Yeah.
But I want you to know, I've said this to you, I want to say it on camera. You are a spectacular performer.
Oh, thank you.
And it's not just that you're a musician that concert night, but you are as good as I've seen anybody on the stage. And I understand where your career has taken you, and you make a major contribution through the work you do, but you should know what a gift you have as a performer. I could watch you all night, and then the next day, and the next night. You just mentioned God.
Yes.
There is something, I'm not going to use the word religious. I'm going to use the word spiritual. I'm using the word spiritual in a generic sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking Christian, I'm not talking Jewish, I'm talking that there's something about it that moves the soul.
Mm.
But I do want to understand you in terms of your own, where you see yourself in terms of spirituality and religion. You have two parents who are devout Christians.
Yes.
Your father takes enormous pride in the songs you have written that express in fabulous ways ideas that are part of the overall Christmas story, but you have given them greater depth, and there are songs you've created, whether it is, Christmas is Coming, whether it's William the Angel, which we'll talk about in a little while, but you are infusing the experience for those in the room who are also celebrating Christmas as a religious moment.
Right.
You are adding to their experience. I want to know how much that is inside you all the time, and I want to know, do you struggle with religion? Do you struggle with God? Is it easy for you? What?
Oh, boy. Well, my best friend in the world is a guy named Jeb Brown, and he's an actor. in New York. And I would say that my relationship to Jeb has influenced a lot of my thought on this, because I was brought up in a very devout Christian home. But as I grew to be a member of the artistic community and grew to know actors and musicians, some of my best friends were agnostic and atheists. And I never really wrote any songs that were, religious or spiritual until I started writing these songs, these Christmas songs, because I was always a Christmas kid. I always loved the idea of this innocence born in a manger without any real power, coming into the world to spread this gospel of peace, turning the other cheek, loving your neighbor as yourself, all of these things. And it moved me as a kid. So when I started writing about it, by that time, Mark, I had talked to and had deep relationships with all of these agnostics. And I wanted there to be songs written that were not so exclusive, that were more open. And so I would say that, I still call myself a Christian, but I live in dialogue with those that I love that have no faith.
Yes.
Jeb married this brilliant book editor named an agent named Elise Cheney, and Jeb converted to Judaism. And I wrote a Hebrew blessing for their wedding. That's why writing these Hanukkah songs has meant so much to me. It's just establishing a community that seeks and searches for meaning and for God in a turbulent life. Mm-hmm. And that's where I feel at home, in that dialogue, as opposed to in the club of, this is what I believe, and I'm going to just affirm that and live in a community that believes that also.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. You also have two fabulous, in addition to Ian Crone, you have two fabulous vocalists who join you year after year.
Oh yeah, two incredible gospel and R&B singers. One is James D-Train Williams.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And Vanessa Thomas, whose dad was the famous R&B pioneer from Memphis, Rufus Thomas, who had a bunch of hits on Atlantic Records in the 50s and 60s.
And how are they in your circle?
Well, again, a lot of these musicians, these great horn players, we have horn players that just got off the roads with the Rolling Stones, with Paul Simon, with Aretha. We're all studio musicians. So for many, many years, Phil Ramone discovered me, the great producer who produced Sinatra and Billy Joel and Paul Simon. And he had me arrange stuff for Natalie Cole and George Michael and all these people. Phil was one of the great people who gave me a career. And I met a lot of these guys on sessions for Phil Ramone. And Van East and D-Train, whenever you needed background vocals on anything, they would be call number one and call number two. And so and I told them I'd like to write you music, and I'd love you to come sing Go Tell It on the Mountain at my Christmas concert. And they've become stalwarts of the concert every year.
Your version of Go Tell It on the Mountain is spectacular. Just again, I hope people who are watching this are making a note that they want to be there at this concert next year and every year. I don't know if you want to do this. I asked you to bring your guitar.
Yes.
You don't have to do this because I know we're going to do some other things. But you do a song, and I'm going to tell you how it ends, and you remind me of the line. You wrote it, and when the something grows up, when the baby grew up, the child became a man, and
when the baby grew up, the boy became a man. Oh, when the baby grew up, he led my soul to the promised land. Oh, when the baby grew up, the child became a man. And I learned when the baby grew up, what I can't do, well, love can.
You wrote that?
Yes.
When the baby grew up, the child became a man. I learned when the baby grew up, what I can't do, well, love can.
What I can't do, love can.
Yes.
Are you able to do that, or should we leave it alone?
I can, actually. We're lucky because all I have to do is tune one string down.
Okay, good. Are you surprised that resonates with me? Because I hear again, so much of your music I appreciate for those who celebrate Christmas. There is some music I appreciate for me because the meaning of the song for me transcends Christianity or Judaism. It is about what it means to be a human being.
Right.
Okay? And very often, there are things which get in the way of relationships. And I understand what the word love means in the context that you're using it. It's a broad word. What
Yes.
I can't do, love can. It's such a brilliant insight. And I just love when you do that song, and you normally do it with...
Do it with Vanessa Thomas.
Right.
And the band.
And she is great, and you play a number of different guitars, you play piano. But this you normally do with a guitar.
Yeah.
And just get me to that.
I'll get to the end I'll just do the last verse, which is Christmas time, I can feel it. See the pastor shed a tear as she reads from the Gospels. Angels to the shepherds, have no fear. Gifts will be given, singers will be singing, bells will be ringing. But let it not be forgotten that, oh, when the baby grew up, the boy became a man. Oh, when the baby grew up, he led my soul to the promised land. Oh, when the baby grew up, the child became a man. I learned when the baby grew up what I can't do well, love can. What I can't do well, love can. What I can't do well, love can. What I can't do well, love can.
I love it, I love it, I love it. I want to tell you my favorite song. And I wait for this song, and I know the minute you play the first notes, it's coming. It's a song you named William the Angel. And as I've said to you before, for me, there's a universal message in William the Angel. You have done many fabulous songs, and I'm sure you have your favorites, and everybody who comes to your concert, they have their favorites. For me, this is an all-time great song. I wish it were, I don't know how much the public knows this song, as opposed to those of us who come to your concert. But it is a spectacular song, and you said you'd do it for me, so I want to do it right now. I want you to do it, and then we'll talk for a minute. Here is Rob Mathis doing William the Angel.
William the Angel sits on the yellow line. William the Angel stuck in the middle of the road, staring out at his broken wing. He sheds a couple of tears, says, I haven't seen my friend St. Paul or St. Peter in 15 years. William the Angel sits on the yellow line, says, God, are you crazy? These humans seem a waste of my time. Well, I've flown around the world, seen many things, the victories and struggles they bear. And I tell them of your love, how you watch, how you listen. They no longer seem to care. And this is my prayer,
Send me to New York, Toronto, or Berlin. It doesn't matter to me. I did what I was told. Still, I'd like to save one soul. William the angel sits on the side of the road. A state trooper says, be careful. Haven't you got someplace to go? William says, no, I'll just stay here and wait, while pointing to the remains of his wing. He is offered a ride, but says, thank you, no thank you. I'm an angel to a king. And this is what I sing before he returns me to heaven. May he fix my wing. Send me to Mexico City, Aleppo. It doesn't matter at all. There's always hope, I was told. And I'd like to save one soul, just one soul. Yes, I'd like to save just one soul.
That is fabulous.
Thank you.
It is fabulous. If somebody said to you, what's the message you were trying to convey? How did this song come out of your heart? By the way, how many years ago did you do this song? Roughly.
Wow. 1987. So
Okay.
29 years.
Okay. And, it came out of you. Do you remember why? Or for that matter, every year you perform this song,
Yeah.
when you do, does it mean something to you? What are you saying with this song? And you understand it touches everyone in the room. Not every song you start gets applause. This song, every time you get applause. I'm leaving it, by the way. And we've talked about it. This is a song you've created to celebrate Christmas. And I said to you, it has a universal message. What's the message for you?
Well, I remember when I wrote it, I was feeling particularly sorry for myself. I was going through a tough time. And I was driving down the road, the Post Road in Lower Connecticut, and I saw this kid that I remember from my brother's class named Willie Pendleton. He was this really sweet kid that was one of those kids that might be bullied in school, and he never had an unkind word to say about anybody. He was just one of these people that exuded love. And I thought, there's a message in there for me. And I just imagined somebody who wanted to just show God's love to people and convince those around him that there was a universal love in the world, that God loved them, and to convince them of that fact in a turbulent world. And it came out of me at 1 a.m. in the morning. And I still remember waking my mom up, who's a piano teacher, because I was so, struck by it. And I wasn't an It's a Wonderful Life fan, I mean, I didn't know the movie. Now I watch it every year. But I didn't know the movie about the angel getting his wings. And there's some parallels there, obviously. Clarence in that movie is kind of a chunky, not particularly charismatic angel. And I imagine William the same way. I woke my mom up, and she came down, and my mom's very effusive. She wept. And it was just one of those crazy moments. And I've sung it with the Boston Pops across the country. And,
It's amazing.
And it's been a real calling card. And, for the hipsters in my life, the cool people, I say, it's a heart-on-sleeve song. There's nothing, kind of street about it. It's just out there,
I just want to save one soul.
One soul.
There's a line in the Talmud, which is the essence of the Jewish tradition, comes out of Talmudic literature. And there's a line which other people have used as well, but it is, one who saves a single soul is considered to have saved the entire world. Wow. And so for me, and I understand you are celebrating with an auditorium packed to the gills with people, a holiday that means so much to everyone in that room as a Christian. But I want you to know, this Jewish kid who's sitting there, who's weeping as you do William the Angel, for me, it's the Talmudic message. It's about you help one human being. You've helped the entire world. You've helped all humanity. And somehow the song you have created, I think, reverberates with that message. And the audience should know there are times that you change the cities that William is going to based on what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
And so the last time you did the concert, it was Aleppo.
It was Aleppo, and I didn't do it every night because I don't ever try to do it as kind of a thing.
Yeah, it wasn't a political statement.
No, it came to me. It just came to me on that last night when you were there. Whenever you're there in the concert, the concert takes on this heightened intensity, and it just came to me. I mean, it's interesting you talk about that. If you think about it, that Christmas, Willie Pendleton, that sweet little kid that I remembered, who had such a light, kind of saved my Christmas. And so, my holiday. It's
Okay,
it's a
one
fascinating
more thing. Again, this is the equivalent of inside baseball, but I want to ask it anyway, okay? The melodic refrain here, da 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 da. Play that. I just want to save one soul.
I like to say one soul.
Do you remember how that comes to you?
Wow, that's it. It's interesting. I work a lot with this great songwriter, Sting, which a lot of people will know. And Sting, the most common thing he's always asked is, what comes first, lyrics or music? And, some people, like Billy Joel says, always the melody. Always. He writes it like a melodic piece, and then the lyric comes after. With Sting, it can be either or.
And for you?
And for me, when I wrote this song, all the songs came the same way. It was kind of a burst of feeling and emotion, and you go, and the stuff, it's almost like you have a little machete and you're going through the jungle, and the lyrics and the music are coming at the same time, and I don't even remember what might have come first. It was all just forging forth on the inspiration.
Okay. Now that people know some of the backstory,
Yeah,
just the last verse, one more time.
sure.
William the angel sits on the side of the road. A state trooper says, be careful, haven't you got some place to go? says no, just stay here and wait, while pointing to the remains of his wing. He is offered a ride, but says thank you, no thank you. I'm an angel to a king. And this is what I sing before he returns me to heaven. May he fix my wing, send me to Mexico City, Aleppo. It doesn't matter at all. There's always hope, I was told. And I'd like to say one soul, just one soul. Yes, I'd like to say just one soul.
So thank you for that, and thank you for writing the song. And I hope what you hear from me about how your music has moved me and how that song moves me, I hope that means something to you and you take pride in it. You understand?
Oh, it's an honor. I mean, as I've told you, the story I tell every year, which means a lot to me, is that when the concert kind of took off, was when we did a PBS special in 1997. You remember it?
Yes, vividly.
Yes, and Vanessa Williams was very gracious. She had recorded a couple of my songs on her first Christmas record, the title track of which was my song, Star Bright. So she agreed to do the concert, and so the great alto saxophone virtuoso David Sanborn came, Michael McDonald from the Doobie Brothers came, and the great African-American actor and activist and writer Ossie Davis
Fabulous.
came. And he read Langston Hughes' poems.
And he's no longer with us.
He's no longer with us. And at that concert, you know, it was shown on PBS and it really spread the word, but the concert went on for longer than I thought it would because David and Vanessa both wanted to do one of their songs over again. They weren't pleased with their performance, which God bless them, they had such dedication. But as you remember, we were getting to about 11:45 and we had started at 8. And I'm looking out at this very gracious audience and I saw some tired faces and I felt so bad. I thought, oh gosh, you've been here for so long. And at the back of the auditorium, Rabbi Mark Golub stood up and said, I want more! And it meant so much to me because I really felt bad at it. We had worked so hard on the concert. I thought I just made these people listen to 3 hours and 45 minutes of music. And so, you know, when I went to your house and you taught me about Hanukkah and I started writing the Hanukkah songs, your embrace of the concert has just meant a tremendous amount.
That's very sweet for you to say and
So.
wonderful for me to know. So I want to talk Hanukkah for a minute with you. You have written, by the way, now 4 Hanukkah songs.
Yes.
And I've said to you, you have to write a total of 8. You and different daughters of yours have sung.
Yes.
Tell the story.
Well, the first one I wrote for you was Light in the Window. But then when Sarah, my middle one, it was her turn to sing one year, and she's now at Berklee College of Music, and she's a pop vocalist. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to write a song on guitar where the two of us could sing? And I thought, why don't I write her a Hanukkah song? So I wrote her, because it was time. It had been 4 years since Light in the Window. I said, let me give Mark another one. And so I wrote Forever You'll Shine for her. And then a few years later, Emma, my eldest, had a really difficult year. And she said to me, can you write me a song, Daddy, that is about my tough year and maybe says that there's hope in the end. And I thought, well, I'd love to write another Hanukkah song. So I wrote a song about how the miracle, she's told about the miracle, but somehow because of the sorrow in her heart, she can't really take it in. And of course that turns around by the end of the song. And that song is called Too Many Stars. And Too Many Stars becomes So Many Stars by the end.
Too many stars at the beginning overwhelms
her.
And at the end?
She sees hope. She sees that she's one of those stars.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the miracle reminds her of that. And then this year, for my little one, Lily, I wanted to go further, and as you know, I called you and I said, can we put a Hebrew blessing in? And so maybe next year I'll bring Lily to sing here.
That'd be lovely.
But I wrote a song called One Last Candle, so that's 4.
That is marvelous. This year you brought Sarah with you,
Yes.
and you and she are going to do a song for me.
Yes.
Which song are you going to do?
Forever You'll Shine.
Forever You'll Shine. This is Rob Mathis singing with his daughter, Sarah.
Forever You'll Shine.
deserts searching for home, and they met persecution wherever they roam, and they face vast armies of hatred and scorn, face them on battlefields bloody and torn. He said, I will restore you. He said, I'll grant you your right, and forever you'll shine, forever you'll shine, forever you'll shine my light.
And their singing was heard at the breaking of day. And they built a great temple, it was taken away. And their songs were silenced, their prayers unheard. But their Lord ever faithful gave them his word.
He said, I will restore you. The temple is yours by my might, and forever you'll shine, forever you'll shine, forever you'll shine my light. Rise
Light up
up,
the candle,
rise
worship
up,
his name.
rise up.
Light up a candle,
Chanukah, Chanukah, stare at the flame.
and they climbed over mountains of blood and bone, and they crossed over valleys, adrift and alone.
And the people who met them would curse and condemn them. Hearts made of stone. He said, I will restore you. He said, I'll grant you your right, and forever you'll shine, forever you'll shine, forever you'll shine my light, and forever you'll shine, forever you'll shine, forever you'll shine my light.
Just fabulous. By the way, I have you sitting here. We open the show with A Light in the Window, and in a moment, I just want you to do a little bit of it, sitting with me right here.
Sure.
But there's one last thing I wanted to know from you. You know, I've had the privilege of being involved in a lot of Broadway shows.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of people in the music world and the entertainment world. And my cousin was the road manager for Joe Cocker.
Oh, wow.
So this has been part of my life.
Mm.
You know, I've been this extraordinarily lucky person. I love being a rabbi. I love Jewish. I love this channel, JBS, and I've been doing L'chaim since 1979. At the same time, I've had this other passion, which is theater, and I've been very lucky. Be on stage and
Tony Award winner.
Yes, I'm very proud of it. And with my brother David. There are some lovely people in theater. Lovely.
Oh, yes.
and there are people who are not so lovely. That's just the reality.
Yes.
Oh, it's probably true of every profession.
Yes, absolutely.
But very often, it always strikes me that there is an actor who can act like a lovely person, and then they're not. It seems to me, if you know how to act as a lovely person, why isn't that
Why
who
don't you
you
do
are?
it 24 hours a
yes,
day?
Yes.
Yes.
And this is my way of leading up to the fact that you have never changed. You started as this kid, you say Boston, Providence, but you grew up in Greenwich.
Yes.
You have lovely, lovely parents.
Oh, I hit the lottery with
You
them.
Yes. They are sweet. They're devout. They believe. They want love for everybody. They're two of the most embracing people. They are dear, dear, dear friends, and they take care of Ruth, and your father's a gem, and you're not an only child.
No. Brother and sister, Rich Mathis, my younger brother, and Jana Mathis, my younger sister,
Okay.
the hero of the
Okay.
family, really.
All of them are lovely people.
Oh,
But
the
okay.
two of them are better, much better than me.
But my point is, you just started as a kid, and you had a dream like many people, and you've been able to reach much of what you once dreamt of, and now you're in the, look, you're in the glitzy world of show business at a level that not only puts you at the Kennedy Center and at Obama's inauguration, but you're working with, and I named them at the beginning, and Bo, the list goes on. I couldn't name all of them, I'm sorry. But you've worked with some of the greatest performers and musicians in American life, and in some way in the international world. You're working with Yo-Yo Ma and Pavarotti. What did you do for Pavarotti?
Well, again, that's because of Phil Ramone. Phil Ramone wanted someone to help do the Pavarotti and Friends concerts, which are charity concerts where he had to sing with pop artists. So he wanted someone, he found me, he thought, wait a second, I can get Rob to sing the demos. He can sing Eric Clapton's part and orchestrate and lead the band. And so he kind of found, I became his utility man for those concerts. And I still remember Pavarotti calling me, tenore, come on, because I would sing the duet part with him on the demos to have him learn the song. And it was incredible. And most of these people, Mark, I've been very fortunate. I mean, Sting is one of the kindest people on the planet. Springsteen, Tony Bennett is one of the most wise and wonderful people you could
And
ever
how do
meet.
you end up working with Tony Bennett?
Well, I got to tell you, it's all through the grace of other people. I mean, you have to be good at what you do, but
Yes.
Phil Ramone introduced me to countless people. I mean, Phil gave me a career. I mean, Sting has been generous and introduced me to a lot of people. Michael Stevens, who produced the Kennedy Center Honors, introduced me to Bruce Springsteen. I mean, it takes a village. I mean,
Absolutely.
You
Okay.
know?
And without embarrassing you, how has it been that even though you are now in that circle, you are one of those, you're at that level of your craft, how has it not changed you? And when you look at, do you ever say to yourself, Rob, do you ever say, holy cow, look at where I have been able to come, and look at what I'm able to do now, and with musicians who are, at the top of their craft. You are working with the best, and you know them all. And you know Paul McCartney.
I've met Paul McCartney.
Okay,
And
you've met them all, right? You understand these are all geniuses.
Yes.
Okay? This is the world that you now are in every day. Do you ever say to yourself, oh my gosh, and do you ever reflect on what I'm saying to you? You have remained as lovely and as unassuming, and you are never condescending, and you don't act like, oh, look at me, I do this, I've won an Emmy, and I'm nominated for Grammys, and Tony, and I've worked with Bruce Springsteen, and I've worked with Ray Charles, and with the Album of the Year in 2004. Do you ever say to yourself, how lucky am I, and oh my goodness?
Well, it's an interesting balance, because I'll have people say to me, do you ever pinch yourself? And I often say something that almost might sound arrogant, but two realities exist. One is constant gratitude. So it's not as much, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here, as much as gratitude on the one hand. On the other hand, I said to someone, I think it caught them by surprise, do you ever pinch yourself when you're around Sting? And I said, when I'm around Sting, the only reason I'm there is because I can solve some problems for him. So as a music producer by his side, helping him carve a record or doing an arrangement for him, I'm there because I can help him do something. And so it's my job to not look at him as a star, but to look at him as a peer. I'm gonna serve, in a sense, musically, but I'm here for a reason. I'm good at what I do, and I'm gonna serve his vision and help him do that. But at the same time, do I pinch myself? I might not pinch myself, but constant gratitude and a realization that it is, there are some incredibly great musicians that don't have this opportunity right now. So yes, they both exist hand in hand. Enough confidence to realize I'm in the room for a reason.
Yes.
But enough, I wouldn't call it humility. I wouldn't claim to be the most humble person in the world, but I try to be gracious and understand that I'm here. I'm blessed. It's a blessing. It's all a blessing.
Okay, and I want you to hear me. I've seen you. It's not only how you treat me. I've seen you with people, with countless people. You are gracious and lovely, and you're not arrogant, and you're not condescending. And if one were just to meet you in the street, we would not know we were with a musical genius superstar, and that is to your credit as well.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so do you remember, this is the first song you ever wrote for Chanukah.
Yes.
You wrote it for me. I am flattered. And do you remember what your thought process was? What were you trying to do with Light in the Window?
Well, I came to your house. I wanted not to write, I never want to write a Hanukkah song that isn't incredibly serious about the message of the Maccabees and the astonishing miracle that happened. And you taught me about it, and every Hanukkah song I write, I want to be right in that place.
Well, you do it beautifully. So do a live version for me
got
right
it.
now.
Judah, they wanted you to worship at their feet, but you did not retreat. Judah, they wanted your people to turn to dust, but you did not give up. And you were asked to disappear and told to live a lie. And the temple was turned into a house of fools, and the stones themselves did cry. Oh, now look at the light in the window, see how it burns so bright. Yeah, now look at the lights in the window, see how they burn through the night. Oh, Judah, Judah, faithful and true. Yeah, tonight the lights in the window are for you. Niskadol Hayasham, Niskadol Hayasham, Niskadol Hayasham, Niskadol Hayasham. And with the oil that they found, the lamp would hardly turn for but 8 long days. It burned, yes, it burned. So now look at the lights in the window, See how they burn so bright. Yeah, now look at the lights in the window. See how they burn through the night. Oh, Judah, Judah, faithful and true. Yeah, tonight the light in the window is for you. Nisgadol Hayasham, Nisgadol Hayasham, Nisgadol Hayasham, Nisgadol Hayasham.
Just fabulous. I love you so much. In Hebrew, there's a phrase called Tu v'hatzlacha. You should have goodness and success in everything you do, good health. You have to come back often.
Next time with your daughter.
I want you to sing with Dara. Thank you. But you've been a wonderful friend, and you've been a spectacular gift to everybody you know. And not simply the concert, it's who you are as a human being. And thank you very much.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
The wildly talented, Emmy Award-winning, Grammy, Tony, and Drama Desk-nominated arranger, composer, music producer, director, and singer-songwriter, Rob Mathis. I hope you enjoyed meeting one of my favorite people in the world. Of course, I'd love to hear any thoughts you may have had to meeting Rob. Please email me, write me, post on our Facebook page, or tweet me. And if you'd like to be in touch with Rob Mathis yourself, please email me, and I will forward your emails on to him. Until the next time, I'm Mark Golub. L'chaim, my friends, to life.
Promised land. Oh, when the baby grew up, the child became a man. I learned when the baby grew up what I can't do well, love can. What I can't do well, love can. What I can't do well, love can. What I can't do well, love can.
L'chaim is a presentation of Jewish education in media.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who wishes to support JBS, the Jewish Broadcasting Service, with a tax-deductible gift of $36, double chai or more, to the nonprofit organization Jewish Education in Media. Simply visit the JBS homepage and click on the Donate button to make a donation by PayPal or your credit card. And please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD. Or you can send your tax-deductible check made out to Jem, Post Office Box 180, Riverdale Station, Bronx, New York 10471. And again, please remember to indicate which program you would like to receive with our compliments. And we thank you for your kind support.